It's good to be back in the neighborhood of recording a podcast about Anchorman 1, 2, and Kill Bill 1 and 2. It's a kind of fun thing to do. It's a kind of fun thing to do. 2 movies, 2 duologies, and we'll have fun doing all this recording. Okay, spoilers for the podcast. Basically, these movies have aged well. And yeah, or at least, I don't know about Anchorman 2, but Anchorman 1 and Kill Bill 1 and 2 definitely have. That's the spoilers for what we'll be talking about. Other than that, what else? The world looks to be on a better track, at least here in Australia it does. Don't know about the rest of the world. Possibly opening up some stuff soon, but Queensland, which is the worst state in Australia anyway, yeah, they're not so much. And that's a complete list of Jordan's faults. So there you go.
Lovely. I'm sure I'll hear all about it in the editing room.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, I just went to grab a drink of water,
L'acqua minerale,
which I have right here. There we go. How are you? How are you going? Are we going to clap to start this thing, or
just do the clap.
All right.
Ready? Do you want to do a countdown?
Okay. Yeah. 3, 2, 1, clap.
All right.
Hey everybody, it's Scotty.
And it's Jordan.
And we're the Film Roast Podcast.
Yes, until future notice, I guess.
And unlike Jordan, I actually have a coffee beverage of sorts. It's sort of a cheat. I have a nice coffee, but whatever.
Yes, I just have water.
You've run out of coffee beans, haven't you?
I have. Well, I had a little bit of grinds left, so I had coffee this morning.
Oh, that's good.
But yeah, I'm kind of out.
Don't worry, I've got a special package coming soon. And that'll last you a while.
Excellent. Excellent. I get my coffee bean supply from Scotty.
Yes, well, I'm guessing not universally. I'm guessing you dabble in other brands, but...
Well, I have, but I recently bought a coffee grinder, a proper one this time, not a cheap piece of shit that was $20 off eBay. So that's nice. That's going to be arriving next week, they said.
So the sort of things to look out for is how airtight the loader is, and how much it dishes out when you push it out. Because some of them are literally, they do exactly 30 ml of coffee, and those are the best ones. But at work, we don't actually use one of those. We've just got our coffee machine set up so you put an amount of coffee. I think it's actually meant to be 60 mils, but it has a special line, so it's like where you're supposed to put it to.
Yeah,
so as long as you
that makes sense.
Yeah, it's idiot proof, and yet one of the other cafe workers is still an idiot. Anyway,
ooh, I hope they don't listen to this podcast.
Probably not. They don't have time.
Probably not. I mean, it's possible.
I think the world is looking good, isn't it, Jordan?
I think everyone's getting used to this quarantine thing. I think it's getting to a point where people are like, okay, we're over that. Well, at least for me, I'm over that awkward, first couple of days of, oh, what do I do? And you go a little bit stir crazy, and then you realize, it's not that bad.
Yeah, I've put into 4 phases. Phase 1, everyone's an idiot and panicked.
Yes.
Okay, actually, there was a 0 phase when people were like, coronavirus, that's not going to be a thing. Don't worry about it. That was actually phase 0. Then there was phase 1, where people went crazy. Then there was phase 2, when people were like, okay, let's get smart. But then phase 3 happened, and it was like, oh, come on, let's just get over it already. Just hurry up. Everyone was in this sort of angsty, annoyed thing. And I think we're up to stage 4, I like to call it, where people are optimistic about the future now. Or at least a lot of them are.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that. Like I said, I think we're at a point now where we can, look a little bit more objectively at
Hmm.
what's going on. And what are you dancing right now?
Yeah, I'm just trying to distract you while you're
Are
talking.
you dabbing?
No,
Are you?
the camera can't really pick it up. I was doing a full body dance. I was doing the
Oh,
snake.
okay. Right, gotcha.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So Scotty's doing the snake, and I'm talking about the world
Yeah.
as it is now. But yeah, I think it's good. I think it's also giving us a chance to do things that we wouldn't normally put time into, like having watch parties for TV shows and movies that
Exactly.
we hadn't seen before, or staying in touch with people that we haven't talked to
I
in a
think a
while.
lot of reconnection is going on, and it's
Mm,
excellent. I think the way we're reconnecting with a lot of our loved ones, the people who truly matter to us. Like I talked to people when this first happened who I hadn't talked to in years, and
mm.
it didn't feel weird. That's the other weird thing is like you call someone. People change and they never change. If that makes sense. This is my perspective on people, and this is going to come
Yeah.
up with the movies we watched. Is that talking about today? Is that our perspectives on things change, but we ourselves can stay true to ourselves. So when I call up someone I haven't seen in a year, we have a full on conversation. You know what? Actually, this reminds me of back in about 2014 when we had this massive phone call. I'd moved back to, we were living in separate states at the time. And we
Mm.
just caught up straight away. We just got into it. And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden, it was an hour and a half later, and we'd had this phone call, and we felt like old biddies.
Mm. It was nice.
It was
It's
nice.
good. And that's like, yeah, it's nice when that happens. And I think this has given people a lot more of an opportunity to be able to do that, more so than they have before, which is good. I think if anything was going to come out of this like that, that would be probably one of the best case scenarios.
Yeah. But you're also talking about hobbies and stuff. It's funny. In my cafe area, I've asked everyone what the most exciting thing they're doing today is, and it's usually the groceries because it's the only thing to do. No reason to leave their home. But apart from that,
Yeah.
it's like homeschooling, DIY, gardening. These are like the top most important things people are doing right now and enjoying in life, which is hilarious. Outside of movies
Mm.
and TV, of course.
Well, it's the little things, Now it's about doing what we can to get by.
Mm, exactly. So, speaking of things we do to get by,
Yes.
Kill Bill. Let's start with Kill Bill, shall we?
Okay, we're going to start with Kill Bill.
Yep. I
Great.
think I've got to say this first of all. When Kill Bill first came out, the film landscape was a bit different. Extreme violence
Yeah.
in movies was sort of it was a B movie thing. It wasn't really a mainstream thing. And I think that sort of took over the perspective of Tarantino's movies, especially Kill Bill, with the poster having blood on it, and then there was a couple of controversies involving that and stuff like that. So when I go back and watch Kill Bill, and I think you brought this up as well. Now, with the film landscapes changed, I think the film has aged very well.
Mm. Yes, I do agree with you. Um, I had seen Kill Bill, both volumes, a while ago, and by a
Uh-huh.
while ago I mean probably 10 years ago,
Wow. Okay.
maybe.
I think the last time I
Um,
saw them before doing this was 20, probably around 2014, 15. It had been a while. I did I did the whole Tarantino thing. I think this was after Django came out. So
yeah,
I did
right.
all of the Tarantino movies in a row, and Reservoir Dogs my favorite. Pulp Fiction is always feels like a safe place to go,
Yep.
and um and the Kill Bills that you watch one and two. I think that's the other thing is I'm used to judging Tarantino movies off other Tarantino movies. So it's like Jackie Brown is
Mm.
like if you watch it on its own, it's like oh this is an interesting movie. But if you're watching a Tarantino, it doesn't fit quite as much, even though for some people it's their favorite one.
Yeah, yeah. I can understand that. I again haven't seen Jackie Brown for a while, very long time. But I think it's always kind of stuck in my mind as the film that felt most commercial. You know what I mean?
Yeah, commercial to the audience it was designed for anyway.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it was like it didn't feel like it was a Tarant. Well, it did, but it didn't feel like it was a full on Tarantino film like Pulp Fiction or Kill Bill or Django or anything like that. It
Yeah.
kind of felt like we were watching a director make a really good film, but also still finding where his flavor came from, or like what flavor he really had as
Yeah,
a
I feel
director.
like, especially with his later movies, the last three or four, I felt they were more targeted. So one of them's clearly a war movie aimed at being a war movie, still
Yeah.
Tarantino. Django's country and western. Um, and I feel like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood really is a love his version of a love letter to Hollywood.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they have more clear. Whereas with Kill Bill, even though it is an
Oh,
action movie.
this is a love letter to Asian cinema, I
It is a
feel.
love letter to Asian cinema, but I feel like it's also the most Tarantino,
Yeah, yeah.
arguably, of any of these.
I can get behind that. Yeah, it is because his style is so in your face and succinct. And it's very obvious that everything he's done in the film is a choice. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's not like, oh, this was a happy accident kind of thing. It kind of feels like Tarantino just went out there and said, no, this is going to be what's in this movie, and I won't take no for an answer from
He
anyone.
had complete creative control.
Mm. Well, at least it felt like he did.
Yeah, it felt like he did. I feel like Tarantino always manages to work within limits anyway. Any limit that he's put on him, he finds ways to escape it. So
Yeah. He does pretty well with being able to control what he can put into his films.
yeah. The other thing I noticed, I watched them back to back, and I feel like they work back to back. A
Yeah.
lot of movies like that don't.
I watched them. I watched the first part last night, and I watched the second part this morning.
Yep.
And I had a break in between. And for me, it works as a whole, film. But at the same time, I was glad to have that break in the middle.
They are long as well. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I
mean, honestly, you could probably break them down into a mini series if you really wanted to.
Yeah, but you could do each chapter and it's a mini episode and put it on Netflix. Yeah. No one would have any problem whatsoever. So,
no, and it would still make sense.
Yeah. Because I think that's the thing about Tarantino that he gets enough credit for, but it's almost seen as an insult, is that he's a great writer.
That's the thing. It's weird because I follow a couple of online film, what do you call them? Like educational websites.
Okay.
Can you call them educational websites? Like No Film School and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the comment section of all of these places where the amateurs love to come and comment on stuff. Or like I have never seen a comment section from a post on Tarantino where the people commenting have said that he is good at what he does. Everyone, well, not everyone, but a lot of people in the comments are just like, oh, what a hack. He can't write dialogue to save his life. What a piece of shit. And it's like, what?
I think a lot of people, especially writers, hate stylish things. And Tarantino has style. And that's actually one of the hardest things to create in many ways. It's like Tarantino has this... I mean, the conversation in Pulp Fiction between John Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson in the car, it should really work.
About the
burger. Royale with cheese.
Yeah, Royale with cheese, yeah.
That conversation, it's fantastic. The dialogue is awesome.
Yeah, and it's the same with Kill Bill, especially in Volume 2. The conversation that she has with Bill at almost at the very end.
Yes.
He's like tranquilized her so he can talk to her. And he does this whole spiel about, you know, who he is as a person and what he is as a person. And in any other film, like if someone was reading this, they'd be going, this is boring. Why are we focusing on this? But the words that he uses to give to Bill to say these things and how he shoots it, and also Carradine's performance, it gives a lot more weight to that, and it's a lot more interesting to watch. I found myself more wrapped in those conversations between our hero and all of the people that she kills along the way of this journey. I found them a lot more interesting than the actual fight scenes. Even though the fight scenes were good, don't get me wrong, they're really well filmed and the choreography is great. I still found the conversations more interesting.
Well, I think especially for the second one, the reason the fight scenes are so impactful is because they have a whole bunch of meanings wrapped up in them. So the
Yeah.
final move, the one finger death punch, it's like it's
Yeah.
talking about her master. It's talking about killing Bill. It's everything wrapped up in the whole series of what Uma Thurman's character has experienced. Beatrice, it always feels weird. That's hilarious when she's just her name. Anyway, that's a throwaway cut scene, but it's still funny. Anyway, that whole fight scene with the one finger death punch. The reason it's so important is it's every step along the way summarized in one scene.
Yeah. And it's also one of the shortest fight scenes in the film across both films. It's literally, I think it's only like 30 seconds long from when he attacks her to her punching him in the chest. It's only like 30, 40 seconds. And I'm pretty sure most of the other fight scenes go for minutes.
Oh, well, the other finale at the end of Kill Bill Volume 1 is dramatic as well. But that's different because it's doing everything. It's just pushing the limits on action to the limit and still being stylish.
I didn't realize, I don't know if you know this, but Kill Bill Volume 1 and The Matrix Reloaded, they came out within 4 months of each other, I think.
Yeah, I did know that, yeah.
And they share so many similarities. Except I have a sneaky suspicion that Reloaded, even though it came out earlier, ripped off Kill Bill Volume 1 in terms of all the suits coming in and she's fighting all the suits.
Yeah.
And when Neo is in that block of units fighting all the agents, there's a lot of similarities there. But it feels like the scene in Kill Bill is done for reason, done for purpose, done for meaning, and it's also it's shot better. Whereas the one in Matrix Reloaded is basically just all CGI and almost thrown in at the last minute.
It hasn't aged well at all. Whereas Kill Bill has aged wonderfully.
Yeah. And I just find it's really interesting to see just so many things in Kill Bill that I've noticed from other.
Oh, that's the other thing I was going to say is rewatching it. I was like, this film is way more impactful in cinema than I thought because there's so many things that other movies have taken from this. John Wick, for example, I feel like has taken a lot from the Kill Bill franchise.
Yep, I was about to say that. Like the when they're on the motorbikes and you see the swords in the back of their just strapped to their motorcycles as they're riding down the express lane. And also when the whole one-fingered death punch is that's where Kung Fu Panda got the killing blow basically for the finale of that.
Tarantino was being interviewed, I think, for Django Unchained, and he historically says like they even ripped off me in a Pixar movie. It's like Kung Fu. He literally says Kung Fu Panda is basically a remake telling of one of his movies. So it's actually. And I mean, it's true. The other thing you said, I thought that was really interesting. You've only said one thing. I fell asleep, I'll admit, last night pretty early, which is probably a good thing because I was knackered.
Yeah, that's fair.
You brought up a similarity between this movie and Hot Fuzz.
Yes.
And I think that's really true. And I think there are a couple of reasons. One, it is hilarious.
Well, I'm going to say what I actually said first.
Okay. You say what you said.
So I texted Scotty last night because I was watching it. It was pretty late, like 10:30, 11 o'clock. And I watching it kind of occurred to me like all of these scenes, even though they're bloody, gory, whatever.
Beautiful.
There's this comedic aspect to it that is hilarious. Just how how Uma Thurman is doing her thing and reacting to what's happening around her is kind of funny. The amount of blood, the amount of gore is almost comedically over the top.
It is comedically over the top.
And it's there are moments that I find just hilarious, and it feels like the film is homaging but also making fun of a lot of these incredibly gory scenes that you might find in Japanese action cinema.
I think people often think being a homage and being a parody means completely different things. But you can be both.
Oh, well, they can be. But yeah, you can be both. Hot Fuzz was both.
It's both. Yeah, exactly.
So is Kill Bill Volume 1, I think, more so than Kill Bill Volume 2. Volume 2 takes a lot more of a serious bent pretty much from the get-go. Whereas Volume 1, it's got a lot more comedic beats to it,
I feel
especially
like
in the
there are
first like
still
40
some funny
minutes.
things. I feel
Mm.
like uh, Beatrice's character. It feels weird calling Beatrice. Anyway, she's overly serious at times, and
Yeah.
it feels like it was deliberately done to be comedic in number two. Like
Oh, and what's her face? Ellie? Is it Ellie?
Ellie Driver.
Yeah, the eye patch chick.
Yeah, eye patch chick.
Yeah. She was. There's a scene where she's explaining to Beatrice that in the trailer park,
Yeah,
that she's going to kill her and all this other stuff, and they have this like a little bit of a mini monologue each, threatening each other, and
yeah.
hers was so over the top. It was fantastic.
Oh, exactly. When I first watched it, it's like it felt weird. It felt like it's like menacing. But
Mm.
rewatching it now, it's just funny.
Oh yeah,
Like
it's hilarious.
it's dripping with writer's sarcasm. As in, the characters aren't being sarcastic. The writer is enjoying making these characters look stupid by saying these things.
Yeah, yeah, 100%, and it really works. I feel, and this is one of the things that I don't understand with all these negative comments aimed at Quentin Tarantino. Tarantino, he doesn't seem like he takes himself that serious. He makes films that he loves to make. He talks about things he loves to talk about, but he doesn't, go out there and say, "I am an auteur, bow down and respect me." You know what I mean? Like
No,
some
I
other
feel like it's
filmmakers might do.
yeah. I feel like he is. First of all, he is serious about his work, but that's
Yes,
not.
no,
That doesn't
he's
mean
serious about his
so.
craft.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't think he takes himself seriously as a person. I think he's able to find the funny side in himself.
And in life in general, I think,
And in life
and in
in general.
cinema. So once again, I think there's a difference between, in the same way, there's a difference between doing a homage and doing a parody, but they can be both. I think there's a difference between mocking something and highlighting its strengths. I think
Yeah.
he accepts both, and
Yeah.
he's willing to do both on screen at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's enjoyable to watch that. I think that's one of the reasons why I wasn't a big fan of The Irishman, was because
Yes.
it felt like it did take itself too seriously, and Martin Scorsese was taking himself too seriously, and there was no real life in it. It kind of
No.
felt like it was all just uh, a plaster together of dark themes and depression, and that was it essentially. And I wasn't the biggest fan of it, not because it wasn't well done, but because I don't feel like the themes were worth talking about.
Uh, I don't. I think it's the perspective on the themes. I feel like The Irishman might be a fantastic story, but Martin Scorsese's version of The Irishman we got wasn't.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't
It
know if
wasn't as
and
interesting as it could have been.
the Irishman had a lot of problems during production and the whole pre-production process.
And
So
the
it's like
CGI, my God, what was up with that CGI? I don't like that. That was wrong. And
I don't think
somebody
that's the
in their
biggest problem with the movie,
basement.
though.
Yeah, but it's funny. But
Yeah.
there was a guy who redid it in his basement with like free software, and he
Yeah.
managed to make it look so much better.
Yeah.
Like why, why they? And Robert De Niro's walking around in like a 28-year-old body, looking like a 75-year-old, like walking like a 75-year-old, and it did not work.
No. But once again, I think this comes down to the money aspect, where if you've got enough money, you can afford to shop around. But if you don't, you run out of time. You run out, and you sort of whoever your first pick is who you get stuck with. And the CIGI company might not even be that bad that did it, but that doesn't mean the product they produced was any good.
Yeah. And also time. I feel like
Yes, time is
I
a
feel
big
like
aspect.
films like that are on Netflix, they have a quicker turnaround, or they try to have a quicker turnaround because they want the film out quick now, done, finished, moving on to the
How
next
long?
one.
Do you know how long Kill Bill 1 and 2 went through pre-production, shooting, and post-production? Because I wouldn't be surprised if it was quite a long time. I feel like
Yeah, I
like
don't
Tarantino
know,
takes
to
his
be
time.
honest.
I think yeah.
But I also feel like I read somewhere that Tarantino, as soon as he's got like a final script ready,
Yeah,
boom, it's off. It's ready to
yeah,
go. Let's do this.
because he knew how to woo the producers, regardless of who those producers might be.
Well, he's just so charismatic and
Yes,
not in a sleazy way. Like he was just really excited about his craft. He was really excited about doing what he wanted to do, and it
and he
was
could
really
portray very quickly how excited and the quality of what he was putting together. So
yeah. And he was very he's very good at talking.
yeah. Anyway, I think it's aged really well as well. So as I said at the start, it's like I think films since they've obviously had taken from Kill Bill, but I also feel like because of that, a lot of the reactions to Kill Bill have changed
Yeah.
with the perspective. It's no longer about the gore or the violence. I feel like it's more about the stylish story and the revenge story and the Japanese well, any martial arts movie style that it has. So
Yeah. I'm trying to find if they have a start date for production. I can't find it anywhere.
okay,
Um,
oh well.
but
I'm
yeah.
sure you guys can look it up yourselves at home.
Yeah. Go do some research. Like, what are
Yeah.
we, Google?
Hey Google.
All right, so that was Kill Bill.
That was Kill Bill
part
Volume 1
2.
and 2.
Mm.
I mean, there's way more to talk about in those movies because each character is interesting and stuff, but go watch them. You don't need us to tell you they're good movies.
I would like to also say that the animated
Oh, yes.
chapter of Kill Bill Volume 1 was impeccable.
It is fantastic.
It's so well done, so well animated, but also it's a gem of animation cinema. Like you could take that out of the film and it would still make sense, and it would still be a good like mini movie or like a short film.
I think it's important to say that Tarantino from the get-go has, for animated movie and Asian cinema, always been a prophet, a messiah.
Yeah, he's been a champion for it.
Yeah.
Bong Joon-ho's films, in the States, he puts together or he gets them into cinemas in the States.
Yeah.
And he tries to get them. He's always like adding Korean cinema to his top 10 lists of the year. He's a huge advocate for Asian cinema and a lot of foreign films in general. He's very open-minded when it comes to where he or where he gets his.
There was that Indonesian
films from.
duology. What were they called?
The Block.
Called?
No, not The
No,
Block.
You know what I'm talking about, don't you?
The action.
Yeah. Why can't I remember the name now? But anyway, he had a lot to do with getting them seen as well, and they were phenomenal movies.
I'm pretty sure the director of that grew up in Australia, actually.
Yeah, he is Australian.
Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah, it's a small world. Okay, but moving on to a goofier. It's actually not goofier. That's the funny thing is like we actually chose movies that have a lot in common, where there's tonal change between 1 and 2. Anchorman 1 and 2. That's the next movie we're talking about.
Anchorman 1 and 2. Where do we start?
Yeah, at the beginning in 1970.
I remember seeing this. This was back when Blockbuster was still a thing.
Oh yeah.
And we watched my parents.
Oh dear.
See, this is the mistake. This is probably why I took forever to go back and rewatch it, because when we first got it, I chose it to watch when we visited the Blockbuster, the video rental store for those outside of Australia. Actually, no, they're American.
Exactly, the Blockbuster's an American
yeah,
company.
so when Blockbuster was still open, we were living in Sydney, and we went there. I was probably 14, 15-ish, and I saw Anchorman. And back when this was when you couldn't see they didn't have the title page or the poster up on the cover. So I thought, I don't know what this is. This could be a documentary about people making anchors for all I know. Sounds interesting. So we got it, got home, watched it. My parents hated it. Hated it, which is fair enough. Will Ferrell is an acquired taste when it comes to comedy. I feel like on the first viewing, you can either love him or hate him. And I was that their view of that film impacted my view of that film.
Uh-huh.
And it
As it
wasn't
does.
until maybe when I was 19, I went back and rewatched it,
Uh-huh.
and I loved it. I
Uh-huh.
loved it. It was weird. It was kooky. It was stupid, and it was fantastic.
It's funny because oddly enough, I often find Will Ferrell is too much. And the movies I enjoy Will Ferrell the most is when he's getting his emotional side out. Which
Mm.
weirdly enough, Anchorman is. Elf is actually my favorite Will Ferrell movie.
Yep, that's fair. I mean, I think a lot of people will say that Elf is one of their favorite Christmas movies of all time,
Yeah.
let alone a Will Ferrell film. And he's been in a lot of fantastic movies where he gets to show a little bit more of his range. But
Yeah.
he and God, I'm drawing a blank on the director.
Adam McKay.
Adam McKay, thank you. They started back at SNL
Yeah.
together, and they worked there. Adam McKay became head writer of SNL, and Will Ferrell obviously went on to headline for a couple of years. And Anchorman became
Those
kind
could
of
be the golden age of SNL in our timeline because they had Jim Carrey at the same time as well, didn't they?
no,
Or was
because
that before that?
Jim Carrey. I'll let you. Yeah, Jim Carrey didn't actually successfully audition for SNL.
Oh, okay. So he was just a guest presenter
He
then.
was just a guest presenter.
Okay.
He did audition several times, but they knocked him back every time, which
What
is
a shame.
really interesting. Like, why would you do that to Jim Carrey? And this, but
Well,
there's
Jim
been a
Carrey
lot of
didn't have a bad
stars.
career, so we can't say anything bad about that.
Well, that's true, but there's been a
Yeah.
lot of stars that have been knocked back from SNL. That's not
Oh,
that's
yeah.
not the point. That's not here or there. But they've worked together for quite some time, and Anchorman was one of the first projects outside of SNL
Uh-huh.
that kind of catapulted them to this worldwide stardom of success. I mean, there's so many quotable lines in Anchorman that we have worked into our everyday jargon. Like, boy, that escalated quickly.
Very quickly.
40% of the time it works every time. Like,
Yeah.
it's we've worked a lot of that stuff into our language.
There is a party in my pants. Would you like to come? Oh, I have to say,
You want to go to the pants party?
Party? You want to go?
What? The pants party, or it's the stripes.
Yeah.
It's the stripes. It's not. I can't. It's an optical illusion.
Uh-huh.
And just these things have become part of this, immense pop culture that we have now, and they've come to the forefront. But we can say that a lot about Adam McKay's work in general, I feel.
Yeah.
Because he also did The Other Guys with Will Ferrell.
Yeah.
And The Other Guys has also similarly reached heights of popularity and pop culture iconography that a lot of these other films have reached as well.
I think the difference is Will Ferrell isn't the main lead in that. Not really. He's just a side character.
Well, no, he's not the side character. They're both
No.
it's a buddy cop film. They're
it is a
both the
buddy
lead.
cop. Yeah.
I'm just thinking about the bit that they do in The Other Guys where all of these women are just in love with him. And
Yes.
Mark Wahlberg is just like, what? How? This doesn't make any sense. And it's so hilarious. You've got like this international spy chick who like blows him kisses and like winks at him and all this other stuff. And then his ex-wife or is his ex-girlfriend or whoever she is just so attractive and so into him. And so is her husband as well. It's great. I love it. But Anchorman and Anchorman 2, they're very different.
Yes, that was going to be my point. Is there's a very different feel to the movies.
Yeah.
In some ways, it's like number one is very funny. Number two's jokes are funny, but they're funny in a more moving sense. So like I think Steve Carell's character progression is sort of the best way to put this.
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
you're just laughing at him in the first one, and
Yeah.
in the second one you're laughing. It's like,
Brick,
oh,
why did you get a trident? And in
I've
the
been meaning to
second
talk
one,
to you about that.
he ends up with a friggin'
Yeah,
alien laser rifle thing.
yeah,
But yeah, no, I agree that there is more of a sense of an arc for a lot of the characters moving forward. Like Champ, for instance. Champ is, we find out he's in love with Ron
hmm
in a non-platonic way,
yes,
which is something he refuses to acknowledge. But it's so funny when they see each other again for like the first time in years. And
yeah,
he's just trying to grab hold of him and just like, oh, come here, but I need to. And then he's just trying to kiss him. And
hmm
similarly, I think Anchorman 2, it has some of those very quotable moments, but they're much more focused and they're much more niche. They're no longer things you can apply to everyday circumstances, um, unless you really try and force them.
yeah. I also feel like the issues in number one, oddly enough, have aged better than the issues in number two, where it's just about sexism and forced diversity in number
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
And then number two, it's like there's family drama and stuff going on, and people growing up and
I
then
see.
reconnecting.
Yeah,
But
I see. Number two as being it's almost like a life cycle
yeah,
in relationships, because you have Ron, starting in the position that he ended with in the first one.
hmm
He's still a little bit sexist, but he's less so. And now he's got other problems, to work through.
yeah.
And
Well,
family
that's the other
problems
thing.
and moving on and
Yeah,
family breakups and all this other
all
stuff.
the issues he has, all the problems with his character, number one, are coming out of a well-intentioned person. He's a man of the times, and he's the man's
Yeah.
man.
He's a man. He's
He's Mel
the
Gibson.
70s man of he's the man of the 70s. He embodies
Yeah,
that. And he's also an idiot.
yeah. And he
And
has a brilliant dog called Baxter, who we all
yes,
need in our life.
who gets punted by Jack Black off a
Oh,
bridge.
it's hilarious. Actually, it is really funny because you can tell it's not a dog. It's so obviously a soft toy, but still, it's
He just
horrifying.
ragdolls off, just
Yeah.
pinwheels in the air, lands in the, and he comes back as well, which is even
Yeah.
funnier.
His conversation with the bear is hilarious as well. It's like, I met your cousin, Kuraja. He taught me many things. Kuraja is my cousin. Ah, I will back off now. I will speak of your kindness for years to come.
And like these moments in these films are really just them having fun. And them having fun for the sake of having fun, which is something that I can get behind in a comedy film.
Yeah.
It's almost pure in a sense. When Will's there on the screen, just screaming,
Yep.
and that's one of my favorite scenes in the second film is when
Uh-huh.
he's in a relationship with this African American
Oh, yes.
newscaster, and he goes to a
Oh.
family's house for dinner, and she's just like, all right, now just are you sure you're okay with this? Are you sure you're all right with going to dinner with my family? It's like, yeah, no, it'll be fine. I'm okay. I'm cool. I'm hip. And as soon as the door opens, the first word out of his mouth is black. Black. It's just, oh no.
It vaguely reminds me of Me, Myself, and Irene, where Jim Carrey's watching the television with his sons pretending to laugh because he has no idea what's going on.
And like, I feel like cringe comedy in the States, especially, is it's something that Americans do very differently. And you've got British cringe comedy, which was
Yes.
popularized by Ricky Gervais. But the American version of that,
Uh-huh.
whereas, in the British version, you love to hate these characters. In the American version, there's actually some heart there, and you're like, oh, these characters are actually have moments of being decent human beings.
Well, with the British comedy, it just takes longer to get to the heart. There is heart there.
Oh,
It's
there
just,
is.
yeah,
It's just
but
way
with the
more
American one,
cynical, I feel.
yeah,
Um,
yes,
and much more in your face with the dickishness of some of the characters.
yeah,
And unapologetic as well. Whereas, like, I was just thinking about The Office again. I know we talked about it last week, but The Office is the golden standard for awkward American cringe comedy. I don't think there's any other American comedy out there that has gotten to the point of being able to make someone cringe so hard and also laugh so hard, but also care for the characters by the end of the episode. Can't really think of any that are that
Well,
cringeworthy, but also
most don't go towards that style of comedy anyway. Sometimes, like other comedy shows will have it, but it'll be a small thing. It won't be the main style.
Yeah,
Whereas the first
yeah.
few seasons of The Office, and then it continues on, but even The Office heads further and further away from the cringe as it goes on.
I think it
gets
heads
back
into
into
a
it.
different kind of cringe. I think
Yeah,
The Office did what MASH also did back in the day.
yeah,
Whereas MASH started with like I think 5 seasons of great comedy and then became a drama.
yeah.
Once Alan Alda kind of took over a little bit more of the show, it became a statement on war, which was good. I don't want to
Yeah,
say it was a bad thing.
I love the ending. It's horrible.
Yeah, and it's
but
sad.
yes.
It's very depressing. But it did become this this marquee for like this TV show that could be more than just a comedy. And in a similar way, I think The Office tried to do that with its later seasons. Realized they couldn't do that because it doesn't work.
No.
Not for them anyway. Not in the setting of the they had this weird contention where Jim and Pam weren't seeing eye to eye, and their relationship was crumbling, and
it just wasn't things people wanted to see.
No, because you have the American darlings who are finally together, and you go ahead and say, oh, this guy wants to bang Pam, and this girl wants to bang Jim, and they're going to try and tear them apart. And it's like, what a waste of time.
It was.
It was a bad decision.
It's like it was something the American office. It's funny though. It's like if the British office had ever tried to do that, well, first of all, they never got together.
Yeah, that's it. That's
different
it.
characters, but it's that thing where the show you're making eventually becomes its own style, and you don't want to move outside that style.
No,
it's like I've been watching Community, and people argue that the 4th season is the worst season, and I mean it is, but it's all right. I don't mind it that much.
I hate it.
Okay,
I hate
but
it.
the problem with the season is it's trying too hard to be a version of itself that it's not actually being itself.
That's it. It's not being itself. It's not. It's attempting to be self-aware, and this is all because of the departure of Dan Harmon. Who got fired really,
Yes.
and then rehired again because they realized that they couldn't make the show without him.
Yeah, this is sort of his show.
Well, that's it. Like he would control where everything was going, and you can see the difference in quality pick back up as soon as he was hired back.
Yeah,
and it's insane. But that 4th season and parts of the 3rd season that he couldn't control. Because for a whole host of issues and problems that cropped up with a certain male comedic actor who wasn't playing ball.
Well, rather Chevy.
Yeah.
Everyone knows the story of Community. Like if you know Community, you know the story behind.
If you're
the scene
aware,
of
well, some people don't. I think some people just watch stuff and then forget about it after. But yeah, it's not the same. That season, I think you take that season out of the entire show and nothing changes. It's a useless season. Whereas any other season that you try and take out, it changes the whole trajectory of the show.
Yes.
But yes, American comedies.
Yes, American comedies. I mean, it's funny you were talking about moving moments that comedies can do that outlast the comedy themselves.
Yeah.
One thing, the thing that brings to mind is like actually from a British comedy, which is the final episode of Blackadder.
Yeah.
Which is, and it's weird because Blackadder is this off the wall hyper real, and by hyper real I mean not real at all styled show. So when they do something, they put in the final episode, they do the going over the top from World War One, and then they're all going to die, and that's it. And then it has a slow pan to the modern day and that's it.
It's the poppy fields. They
fields.
go to the poppy fields and they have an in memoriam dedication for all the soldiers that died, and that was because you're sitting there and suddenly all the jokes are stopping. The one-liners are stopping. You've got Rowan Atkinson there saying, "Well, this is it. We're going to die. It was a pleasure serving with you, gents. See you guys." And then they had this freeze frame of them going over the top into the mist.
It was so subtly done as well. I think that's so for the general British populace who first saw that episode, who had loved ones or knew someone that had fought in World War One.
Yeah.
It was just an emotional release that no one expected from a comedy. So I think that's why that's the first one that comes to mind when we talk about these things that comedies can achieve. But even that episode's like the jokes were still hilarious, but there was this uncontrollable, and the whole season was about trying to get out of doing what happened at the end of that episode. So it was sort of the perfect finale. That anyway.
No, comedy... I agree with that, and also on top of that, and branching off of that, Rick and Morty, the ending of is it the first? Yeah, it is the first season.
The first season.
First season, the very ending of the final episode, you have Rick who decides, no, okay, well, I'm going to sacrifice myself for my family, and he gets taken away. And locked away, and you're expecting, because he's Rick, he's going to break out. There's going to be hijinks. It's going to be funny, and all you get is this incredibly depressing song playing over
9 Inch Nails.
watching Rick getting dragged away, locked away, and then that's it. That's the end of the season, and you're like, oh my god, that was what?
Yep.
And it's not a what the fuck did you do? Like, that's a terrible show. It's holy crap, you made me feel something that I wasn't expecting from something like this.
Have you watched Onward yet? It is on Disney Plus.
It is on Disney Plus?
Yeah.
Huh. No, I haven't. I haven't watched it yet. I heard it was coming out, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I can't remember when it came out, but I have seen it. It does something similar. I don't want to give any spoilers away. We might do that sometime soon.
Okay. Is it better than Frozen 2?
That's not hard to do.
Hey, you made a rhyme.
No. Yes. It's not Pixar's best movie ever. But
well, Frozen 2 ain't no picnic. Like that.
That's not Pixar. That's Disney Animation.
Tried to watch that, and oh my goodness. What a terrible, and it doesn't even say anything good at the end of the film. It's literally like everything you've just watched was meaningless.
It was pointless. Yeah. That was my biggest takeaway is like
all of the work and effort we put into this movie was aimless and didn't mean anything. Thank you for watching.
If anything, it felt like the film had gone backwards. It's like now the family's separated, even though they're anyway.
It doesn't make any sense. And
the one thing I liked about that movie was the song in the cave.
Which one's that?
Anna's song.
One where she's like trying to make her way through the cave and crying about it.
Yeah,
okay.
That one.
I can't remember it.
Yeah, well, I felt like
I watched it like 4 days ago.
Yeah,
can't remember it.
I felt like that song almost had some emotional relevance, but then they flipped the table anyway, so it didn't matter.
I hated all of the songs, honestly.
Okay.
Christoph started singing about his reindeer, and his views on marriage are like, it's almost like he didn't learn anything from the first film, and he's gone back to...
that is the other thing, is like the characters hadn't gone... Anyway, there's plenty
Stupid movie! You made a mistake, which is fine, I guess, because you can make mistakes, but it's still... It's not good.
Yeah, we should write this. We should write the third in the trilogy, just to... And we can kill off most of the characters to get go.
Yeah.
Can set it like 100 years after, and Elsa's the only one alive, and the country's been taken over by an enemy force, and she just goes. It's just an action movie, and she's just killing them all.
Already way more interesting. I'm down to see that film.
Yeah.
I'm down to see that. Yeah, and like, I was going to go in a darker place there.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, it wasn't. They really took quite a few steps back from even the first one. I wasn't a big fan of the first one, but yeah,
Yeah.
not a good choice.
Anyway, so what else have you been watching? I've told you I've been watching Community. I rewatched an anime because there's an anime coming out that I really enjoy. It's just a high school romantic comedy that's hilarious. It's actually funny. That's why I like it. A lot of Japanese comedy is just it's wacky, but this one's actually funny.
Cool.
So
there you go. I'm not sure about watching stuff. I've kind of been pressed for time over the last.
Oh, you've been writing stuff.
Couple of weeks, but I have been. Yeah, I've been writing stuff. I've been writing a feature film.
Woohoo!
That I'm wanting to do. It's partly based on my childhood, but it's also a fantasy action film.
Okay.
And on top of that, I've also been reading, and I recently picked up the prequel to the Watchmen series.
Okay.
In comic book form or in graphic novel form. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to be reading that. I've also been reading.
I have a soft spot for Zack Snyder's Watchmen.
The film.
I like it more than I like it more than a lot of other people.
Yeah, there you go.
Because my problem with the comics is one of the storylines they leave out in the movie, which is kind of funny. A lot of people complain that it's taken out, and I actually kind of like that it's taken out. Anyway.
I've seen Watchmen, the movie. I didn't read the comics beforehand at all. It's all right. It's not a terrible film. It's probably one of his best films.
That's not hard to say.
But it is also, there are some massive plot holes with Dr. Manhattan.
I thought you were about to say I thought you were about to say massive blue penises, but yeah.
Or the lack thereof. But yeah, the character of Dr. Manhattan doesn't really gel with the story they're trying to tell, I don't think.
Yeah.
And his arc is very unfulfilling and kind of boring. Yeah. I don't think I think there are things that work and things that don't work, but I think that's Zack Snyder films in a nutshell.
Yes.
I honestly think his best film was Dawn of the Dead, the remake.
Yeah, right, yeah. The scene where they're shooting zombies on the roof when they're calling out actors.
And who was it? James Gunn wrote that.
Yeah.
Yeah. James Gunn wrote that. One of his first big hits, basically, aside from the Scooby-Doo live action film, which he also wrote. That was apparently going to be like an M15 Scooby-Doo film.
Oh, yeah.
And then they changed it, and I was so disappointed because that would have been great. That would have been great. An M15 Scooby-Doo film. I'm a big Scooby-Doo fan, if you don't know, people at home.
I think everyone who's ever really knows Scooby-Doo is a Scooby-Doo fan.
Yeah. Just the campiness and the fun and the silliness, but also the interesting stories that they tell. It's a fun little romp.
It's a good vehicle for interesting stories.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons why I'm kind of looking forward to this new animated Scooby-Doo film that they're trying to make.
That'll be good, hopefully.
Well, it'll be interesting either way.
What else have I been watching or looking forward to? I feel like there was something I was looking forward to. I'll probably think of it as soon as the podcast ends.
That's how it.
Well, we have actually
how it do.
Yeah. Well, speaking of which, we have been here an hour already, so we should be kind to our editor and let you go.
Yeah. That poor guy that's in the studio by himself. A little monkey.
He's got Simon Garfunkel playing in his mind the whole time.
You have no idea. Well, I think that about does us.
One thing I would like to say though is, with everything that's going on, there's a lot of heightened emotions and changing emotions very quickly.
Yes,
and it came out, especially rewatching these movies, that how we watch movies really depends on us. And the filmscape changed between rewatching Kill Bill now and then, but how you are as a person changes how you see a movie. So, which I think is an interesting thing to think about. self-reflection often happens when you're watching a movie, and
If you let it.
if you let it, you have to indulge yourself.
I think it's also like, because I've known some people, and you've known some people as well, who are like this, Scotty, who are terrible people to talk to, and it really shows in their opinions of certain films. Like the friend that is only focused on being able to get the plot twist before everyone else misses out on the whole narrative centerpiece of the film, or the friend that is keen to block out certain actors in the film because they don't like their face or something, misses out on their character arc.
I mean, if Timothée Chalamet is in a movie, I tend to not like it. Just saying. No, I'm just kidding.
So you won't be watching Dune then?
I will be watching Dune.
What a shame.
I'll just be photoshopping in my own mind Tom Hanks' face on or something.
I don't mind Timothée Chalamet. I think he's
I'm just joking. I'm just joking because other people don't. Who is it? John Mulaney doesn't like him.
Really?
And because the reason he doesn't like him is because his wife likes him. Yeah, which is usually how it goes.
Yeah. John Mulaney's amazing. I love John Mulaney. He's funny.
He is funny.
And what a career. Anyway.
Oh yeah, he's done lots. Anyway, we should let you go.
Yeah, we will let you go.
What movies are we doing next week, Jordan?
Good question. I cannot remember. I'm gonna have to look at our little chat.
Yeah, you do.
Quick,
I can't remember.
Quick, say something, Scotty. Keep them entertained.
Yeah, I can do that easily, can't I?
Do some stand-up.
Well, yeah, guys, have you heard about this new thing called television?
I said stand up. I said stand up, not talk like a pirate.
Well, you gotta get out more. I don't know where this voice has come from, but you know, have you ever thought, isn't the sky too blue?
This is the honest to God worst thing you've ever done.
Thanks.
On the podcast.
I was aiming for low.
You went below low. You went woof. You went pretty far there.
It's like when you break your face on the bottom of the pool after you jump off the dive board.
Mm-hmm.
I made it all the way to China.
Yeah, you hit that. Well, let's take a look at some stuff on Amazon.
We'll do some Amazon.
Yeah.
Movies.
So the man.
I mean, that's where I watched most of the movies we did last week. So.
The Man Who Killed Don Quixote.
Ah, okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Do some new stuff.
Yeah. And we'll do. How about we go the social?
Hot Fuzz.
Huh? What?
How about we just do Hot Fuzz?
Oh yeah, we can do Hot Fuzz. Yeah, let's do Hot Fuzz.
Okay,
all right.
that's just
So
two movies.
The Man Who Killed Don Quixote and Hot Fuzz.
That's what we'll be talking about next week. Possibly more stuff, but that's the movies that we've got planned anyway.
That's your homework.
Yes.
The Man Who Killed Don Quixote, which is on Amazon, and Hot Fuzz, which is also on Amazon, and I'm pretty sure is also on Netflix. So
yeah, it's lots of places.
Yeah.
Watch Hot Fuzz.
You should be able to find it.
Or you just got it memorized because the movie's pretty awesome.
It is pretty awesome. I remember our college days watching that movie over and over again.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain I watched it 3 or 4 times at Avondale. So.
And we went to see. Were you there? We went to see The World's End.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
I wasn't.
I think that was.
But I watched it around the same time.
I think it was me and Jesse and Mitch. Shout out to Jesse and Mitch.
Yeah. Shout out to Jesse and Mitch. Mitch is actually just next door.
Oh, hi, Mitch.
Yeah. But anyway,
that's
until next time. This is the Film Roast Podcast. I've been Scotty.
And I've been Jordan. Have a great week, guys.
Stay safe, and we love you all. Bye.
See ya.